food production facilities are on fire. Energy production facilities are on fire. The world is experiencing a fertilizer crisis, with farmers all across the US saying they can't afford fertilizer for 2026. We'll talk about that more in a moment. And to top it all off, you have the WEF's cyber polygon warnings of a cyber attack that could cause a worldwide blackout, resurfacing now in the face of Sam Altman. Sam Altman recently said that there could be a world-shaking cyber attack this year. Take a listen to this.
There could well be a world-shaking cyber attack this year that would get people's attention. It sounds like you agree with that.
I think that's totally possible, yes.
Now, he goes on to say that the only way that we can prevent this is if we strengthen AI systems and give more control, essentially, to companies like OpenAI, we suppose is what he's proposing there. But the point is, he says it with such certainty, and some could say, "Oh, well, that's his sales pitch to make OpenAI more relevant or more important." And yes, sure, there's an element of that, but there's also the thing that we can't forget, which is Cyber Polygon, and the fact that you now have Larry Fink of BlackRock at the WEF, and to think that they've just done away with Cyber Polygon as they become more and more desperate in the information war would be naive. So we have a threat to food. We have Palantir saying we need a mandatory military draft in the US. And we have whispers of this across multiple different countries. And we just saw what happened in Ireland when people tried to protest. The military was deployed against them. Now imagine a situation where more and more people are becoming increasingly frustrated with this program, aka Agenda 2030. Well, how do you shut them all up? You cut off their access to information, of course. And you may or may not be surprised to learn that the CISA, or the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is warning about things just like this. Oh, cyber attacks, specifically Iranian cyber attacks. Now, whether you believe some of those things or not, that's totally up to you. The point is that this is something that, in my opinion, has been a wild card for some time. And there are multiple different crises currently happening that we need to be aware of. You know, Romania, energy facilities on fire. Something happens in India. I think 7 in the US alone just this past week, places spontaneously combusting. I mean, it is not a coincidence. And the difference between now and the COVID era, when we were seeing a lot of, remember all the egg farms that were going up in flames during that era? Well, the difference now is that you have a serious crisis with the Strait of Hormuz and world energy, and warnings of we need to start food rationing, and this is no joke. And if you watched our earlier report tonight, you would have seen that leaked UK government reports show that they are very seriously preparing for food rationing. So we need to start taking preparation very, very seriously. Brett Miller is one of our favorite people to talk to about all of that because he brings a lot of common sense to the conversation. Brett joins us now. Brett Miller, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Hey, Maria. How are you? Great to see you.
Doing
good. What a
good.
crazy time. The world is burning, quite literally.
Quite literally, all of these facilities that are crucial for energy production, fertilizer production, and food production are spontaneously combusting all at the same time. It's just unbelievable. What a coincidence.
Coincidence. Yeah, that seems to be the name of this administration, is coincidence. And the last administration, because I recall having similar conversations through the Biden era where food factories and fertilizer plants and, there was a mysterious, what was all the mysterious, the nitrogen or nitrate disappeared, where they were looking, it was like train loads of all this stuff just magically disappearing and burning to the ground. And now here we are. And just last night, there's a power plant in India. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed, so we're still not we're still not getting oil and resources, and that just affects everything. So, we're really in for it. I really truly feel that way.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that Australia, an ammonia plant, I believe the largest one in Australia, was shut down due to, an unspecified technical issue. We have now reports coming out that 70% of US farms, I want to show everyone this headline, 70% of US farms cannot afford fertilizer as more energy facilities are hit by fires. That's from Chris Martinson's Peak Prosperity. He's tracking this stuff all the time. So just to give you specifics of those statistics, you have nearly 80% of farmers in the South, 69 in the Northeast, 66% in the West, and 48 in the Midwest are reporting issues with being able to afford fertilizer in the United States right now. And this is fertilizer needed for 2026. So
Crazy.
I really don't think, Brett, that people are understanding the severity of this issue.
They're really not. I'm even struggling too, because I'm starting to realize that, I went out and counted the buckets of food, and I was thinking about water and power, and I'm like, looking at the weather and checking the agriculture charts, because, maybe there's food on the shelf now, but there's some of the smartest people in the industry, yourself included, are all saying the same thing. And what they're saying is that we have about a year maybe of products, maybe a year of supply at most. But the longer every day this drags on, those supplies are being usurped. And I'd be shocked to say we have a year's supply, just like I'm shocked that there's any gold in Fort Knox. But we can believe what we want. I think the truth is the writing's on the wall, and now is the time that everybody needs to just really wrap their brain around the fact that things are going to get harder no matter what, and whether that's more expensive or not available, that's the challenge that we're all facing.
Well, two crucial things we reported on just earlier today was that the European Central Bank chief, Christine Lagarde, said that we need to start preparing for food rationing. We also found leaked government documents in the UK that multiple government departments are preparing for food rationing in what one advisor called World War II style food rationing.
Right.
So that's leaked government documents coming out of the West.
Crazy.
And then you have the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization saying that even if the Strait was to open up today, the effects are going to be felt for a very long time. So they are achieving the Great Reset masterfully right now, Brad.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, we've been watching it happen. They've been telling us what's coming. Everyone was talking about like, oh, COVID. COVID was the test. COVID was the test. Well, test for what? Well, yeah, to see if you'll listen, number one. But I think they were testing supply chains. I think that's pretty obvious, that's what was happening. We could see that. And the reaction, like, were we going to rise up and storm, the castle and take the food and do what we had to do? Or were we going to start, the industry ourselves, which we did neither. We complacently, protested in voice and actions, and people got reprimanded for said action. But, here we are, that they've been telling us for a while, the crisis is here. The global depopulation is the agenda. And sadly, I think Donald Trump is like their guy. For some reason, it seems like he's not paying attention to any of this, that it's only the people like yourselves that are able to read these articles and see the facts. And the facts are that this war, this thing that he started, is costing the globe, not just the country. It's costing the globe. And when you consider that the poorest countries are the ones that are going to suffer first, you could be looking at hundreds of millions to billions of people eliminated in the next 90 days to a year, because anybody is only 3 days away from water, 30 days away from starvation. That timeline is very short. So,
well, according to the UN, they're estimating 45 million people will reach starvation point in 2026, additionally to the existing numbers. I personally think that's quite a conservative number, considering what they're, these leaked documents that are coming out. And mind you, just like well, when we interviewed Martin Armstrong last year, there were leaked documents coming out of Germany, France, the UK, all of these governments preparing in Europe, they're preparing to turn their bus stops into sort of military points. And they sent out memos, I believe it was France, they sent out memos to the hospitals telling them to prepare for an influx of injured soldiers. So, you know, this is no.
We just got the draft back, the mandatory registration, that's a thing now. And they just kind of quietly, you see it like it's like skip across the surface of Twitter, deet, 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 and then it plunges to the depths and disappears. And meanwhile, that's your kid sent off to the meat grinder for a war that's not benefiting any country except for one nation. And I don't even know if it's benefiting them because the civilian population are the ones that are taking the brunt of this. And I think that's like the real struggle with the idea that this is like World War III. I think people don't realize that we're in World War III. I think COVID started World War III. I think that was, and the world, it's world war, but it's an attack on the world, right? It's like War of the Worlds, more like World War III, because what we're seeing is not armies. We see a lot of soldiers moving, and there's a couple night ops and some disaster drunken Pete Hegseth stuff that he's pulling off. But what we're not seeing is soldiers on soldiers. Sorry, I got slide those in there. We got soldiers on soldier battles. We're not seeing that happen. What we're seeing is the infrastructure of the world when it comes to food and lights and power and peace and prosperity being bombed. We're seeing cities being annihilated. We're seeing towns being blown up. And, the people are going to reap the rewards of this war, right? I mean, it's so crazy because it's not soldiers that have signed up to go to battle. We're watching the annihilation of the world, of just the population and how it feeds itself and powers itself. And I think the world needs to come together right now and snap out of it and realize that it's time. It's really time. And I think, take control of your neighborhood, talk to your families, talk to your communities, prepare your family, prepare your household. You have to talk to your neighbors. You gotta get involved in the local community, school board, things like that. Yeah, that's all fine and well, but you need to prepare right now because when the shelves go dry, like the voting doesn't matter anymore. When the shelves are empty and your kids are being drafted, and just like Ukraine, that the whole environment, the whole temperature shifts. And now you're in a completely different scenario. So sorry about my rant.
No,
It's
it's
so
an
crazy right
important
now.
rant. And as you're talking, I'm thinking about, and I was setting up a video because I want people to see this. As you're talking, I'm thinking about Ireland and the fact that, recently there were massive protests in Ireland and the government deployed the military on its own population.
Right.
We reported a little while ago some leaked military training out of New Zealand. They were training to deal specifically with Christian nationalists. Like the military did, if I'm not mistaken, 4 separate exercises last year just on how they're going to deal with Christian nationalists in the country. Like this is where we're at, Brett. It's really, really serious. And when we talk about the people rising up or, making their voices heard, this is the Capitol Police yesterday who were arresting. Take a look at this. Isn't this shameful?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a mini version of J6 where you show up to your house where you pay the taxes and you're the voice, and then some other kind of Gestapo group comes and arrests you. Now, DC is different. DC is a district. It's not doesn't function as a state. It's a corporation, just like the United States is a corporation. So it functions a little different. When you step into the boundaries of DC, you are in their jurisdiction, and they have different rights. They have different ways that they can do things. So that whole gulag thing, and everyone's complaining, that's totally legal in the District of Columbia. They can do that to you. And what they're trying to do now is spread that web, spread that reach with those type of really tyrannical kind of, those fascist laws. That's what they want to do. Like in Florida, they want to shut down speech laws. In Texas, there's isn't there protests, and they're arresting, just like you said, in Ireland right now. They sent out the military. So what needs, again, it's the people. The people are the military, right? The people are your neighbors. The people are your teachers. The people are your school board. You just have to single out the people that are not on your team and then, figure out how you got to work against that, and non-violently, of course, unless they're kicking down your door and trying to shoot you, and then in which case you have a right to defend yourself. So, Ireland is a perfect example. It's it's such a tight community. It's such a long-standing place. It has its own history of turmoil and battles for its own freedoms, similar to the United States. It's just kind of like a smaller version of it. And now they're dealing with a lot of the issues that the United States are starting to deal with. And you see that, England's dealing with those issues, and, almost every country in the world now is dealing with those issues. And you have to wonder why we're dealing with them, where they're coming from, and how do we deal with them. But yeah, to your point, and if the military's turned on you, so has your government. And then you as a people have to decide, now where are you at in your constitutional right?
Well, this is, the biggest warning sign to me was I was living in Australia during the time that the military was actually deployed in the Northern Territory to take people who were suspected to be close contacts, not even, testing positive or whatever nonsense that BS PCR is going to tell you have. When you rub it on a fish, it says you have COVID, for goodness sake. But the military was coming and taking people against their will in the middle of the night to camps. Well, it is. It's hilarious. You can rub it on an orange and it's positive for COVID. It's so stupid.
Sorry, it's just so crazy.
It is crazy. But when you see the military turn in that way, Brett, and I'll just say, after that, I started paying more attention to some of these drills that they were doing and exercises that they were doing. There was one particular exercise that they had published on defense.gov.au where they were training to deal with unruly protesters. And so I reported on that, and I just said, why are they doing this? What are they expecting? Is there a reason for this? Naturally, public sentiment towards those types of activities is going to be a little bit different than just routine exercises after the military has factually actually been deployed to take the population to camps against their will, right? Like prior to that point in time, you may have thought, well, maybe that's just routine for, insurrections or whatever, right? Violent uprisings. But after you've seen them deployed in that matter against the population who wasn't even sick, to put them in camps, then you start asking, well, why are they doing these exercises? And that was actually what led, I believe, to my debanking and me ending up on 60 Minutes and all this sort of stuff. Not to dig through history. I'm just saying that these particular things, once you see military being turned against citizens like we saw in Ireland and in Australia, that is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. Because what do you actually have? You're here trying to exercise your democratic right to speak, your God-given right to speak, to be out there and protest and let your voice be heard, and you're going to be crushed by your own military. What kind of Chinese dystopia are we living in here?
Well, that's so funny you said that. You ended with that, because I'm sitting here thinking, well, it's the art of war, right? It's attack by stratagem is what it is. And it's when you want to besiege a territory or a nation without expending your army because you want to preserve the land. And I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just saying this is the art of war. You look it up, attack by stratagem. And there are several measures to follow, to do that. One of them is to surround an enemy, right? To detain them, to kind of close them down. So maybe shut down their airports, make travel really expensive, things like that. Another one would be to fling dead bodies over the wall to create contagion or pandemic, some would say. Another one is attack by fire. So that's another one where you burn resources, trade routes, you sabotage, you kind of contain them in their own thing. And then, the Sun Tzu's, the art of war also deals in, with infiltrating, right? Spies, creating civil unrest. So that's a good way, because you're distracting while you infiltrate the government. That's all these are parts of the art of war. These are thousands of years old strategies on how to destroy places or take over places without destroying them or yourselves, and utilizing their own resources at the same time. Mass hordes, things like that, which destabilize the social contract in an area, because we have a social contract in this country where we have things in glass shelves. And the reason that the glass isn't smashed is because we all agree that if somebody goes to smash the glass, we as a society detain that person and we send them off to the authority, and the authority goes takes them away, and then we don't have any more glass smashers. But the problem is, they're smashing the glass, the people are getting involved, and then the people that stop the glass smasher are getting smashed by the authority. So they've already infiltrated the government. You can see that. And now I think the other stratagems that they're using are, fire, famine, uh, contagion, all of these things. So it's really funny that you said Chinese, because it really is very similar to these ancient techniques of destroying populations. Yeah.
I just and I want to be clear. This, just in case I didn't make sense, this is the U.S. military veterans that are being escorted out as they're protesting against war, which is causing all of these repercussions that we're talking about. I mean, this man is on a cane. This is a veteran on a cane, and he's being told you are not allowed to use your voice. I mean, this was so disheartening to me, Brett, because I so believe in the US Constitution and freedom of speech, because it's a God-given right. And this really hurt me, actually, seeing this, genuinely. Go on.
I think the country would be more in line with this if, Baron Trump were to take a banner and lead us off into war. I think then we might, or one of those guys, maybe Don Jr. wants to put on a Kevlar and don an A1 or an A2 and go out there, and start hooking and jabbing. It's really appalling. We're smart as a globe now, and I think that's why the attack has become more serious, because, before they could oorah, entire generations into going to fighting the evil guy based on 100% controlled propaganda. And we can see that now, Vietnam propaganda, World War II, a lot of propaganda, World War I even. So I mean, Civil War, how far you want to go back? There's a lot of things, there's a lot of positives that came from certain from certain conflicts, I'll say that, but there's exponentially more damage that's been caused, and then you have to go to the source of like, why are these conflicts even being caused? So I mean, fast forward, now we're back here. Are we really gonna, weapons of mass destruction, and they're gonna 6 weeks away from a nuke? Yeah, exactly. We're all over it. We're like, no, I've been through the meat grinder. He's been through the meat grinder. We all know I'm not sending my kids through the meat grinder. And, if you want to try, then we'll just have a little meat grinder competition right here. That's fine. But I think America as a whole is just kind of done with this, like, oh, the rich, fat weirdos are going to send our kids off to war to go fight for some mystery evil or fight some mystery bad guy. Because, last time I checked, Iran didn't blow anything up in the United States, even though you keep telling me that they're going to, even though you keep pointing the finger and telling me they're the bad guys. They keep tweeting that they're not going to attack us. So I don't know. Who should I believe on True Social, or should I believe the Iranian tweets? It's very complicated right now. And I don't mean to make light of it, but at this point, their propaganda is so ridiculous. It's going to really take like a 9/11 thing. And if they do something like that again, it's not going to get the result they want. It's not going to charge Americans off into the desert. It's going to circle the wagons here in the country. It's going to bring together all of the people that are on the fence now, because we're not falling for it again. I really don't believe that.
I'll just say I don't believe any of them. I don't believe Iran. I don't believe anyone.
Well, true. I'm not taking sides here. I'm gonna get attacked. No. Spy or something. I'm taking Qatar money. Shh, it's all that Qatari money. Maria, stop it. That's why I'm so rich.
But you can't deny, and I think the confusion is by design, right? Where President Trump will make a statement like, "We've reached a deal," and then Iran will come back and say, "We actually did nothing of the sort." And I feel like
meanwhile, someone's insider trading, making like $100 million over the weekend.
Right,
that's just coincidence.
But
I think it's Hegseth. I'm just kidding.
That was a joke.
I know, it was just a joke. Sorry.
Well, there's some interesting information that's come out about Lutnick and the tariffs and the insurance.
Well, his face mask is super. His face mask on the Epstein dentist list, or the Epstein dentist office, is just super creepy.
Yeah,
that one just like blows my mind. Because those masks, there's a movie, Under the Silver Lake. You can watch it. They kind of like disappeared it for a little while, but there's a whole scene in that movie where they talk about masks and the representation of masks and what they mean, and it's all about Hollywood, this movie, by the way. But Yeah, the mask thing, the Lutnick. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I got distracted with his creepy face.
It's quite all right.
Yeah,
It's easy to get distracted by that
it
creepy face.
is.
But you know, just speaking to the broader, you know, I think the illusion, at least for viewers in our audience, I know that there are still some diehards out there, but I think the illusion that anyone's coming to save them is well and truly gone. And for that, I'm somewhat grateful, Brett, in the sense that yes, I did hope that there would be some change, and many people saw this as a last hope. But by the same token, it's sort of forcing people to become more self-sufficient, which I think is a good thing. Even if you had the best government on earth, I think that it is wise to be self-sufficient and in charge of your own life and not depend on the powers that be to run all this for us. So for that, I am grateful. However, I think that it's going to reach a certain point of desperation where, despite the censorship surrounding the war, and by the way, censorship is massively on the increase. I've lost like 1,000 people from X over the past, since I started talking actually about how this war is accelerating the Great Reset. I just started losing a whole bunch of people from that account because they don't want you to know that. They want you to cheer on a sports team
Right.
or whatever stupid nonsense they're encouraging people to do. So I think the censorship will start to increase even more, but I think that they may have to, or they may want to take very extreme measures. And this brings us back to what I played in the opener there, which was Sam Altman echoing the
Yeah.
words of Schwab, telling us that this year there could be a quote world-shaking cyber attack this year. Sam Altman is saying that's totally possible. Don't know what makes him think that, but they're now saying these
So
things.
creepy. Yeah, I mean, again, they're telling you. They're telling you it's like it's the whole sales, right? I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna tell you, then I'm gonna tell you, and then I'm gonna tell you what I told you. And then, the Hegelian dialectic is gonna be then I'm gonna offer you a solution, right? I'm the perfect vacuum salesman. I'm gonna throw some dirt on your floor, and then I'm gonna offer you this nice vacuum cleaner. But their vacuum cleaner is death. And that's what they're doing. And I mean, power supply is everything. I challenge anyone to go through the day without using power. Just one day, just do it. Write it down, take a note, mail it to me, and tell me how it was, right? Because it's not going to happen. We just need it. So that's what we do. So, satellite phones, that's our thing. Power supplies, solar power. So we're comms and power. But when these tech lords, tech billionaires, he's not my lord, I'm just saying that's what they call him. So when they tell you that they're going to turn the power off, I think we should do that. Bill Gates was telling you that there's going to be a pandemic, and then there was a pandemic. Oh yeah, there's this like awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Solar power, the sun is always shining. That's why Bill's trying to spray it again, Bill Gates. But the for now it's shining, and these things work great. And it's actually when it's funny because I use it to charge stuff now. I just put the panel outside and I have the generator inside, and I just plug it in because it's quiet. It doesn't
Best
make any
way.
noise.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm just using it to charge up little devices and kind of seeing how much I can offset my power bill and what I can run on there for how long. But the truth is everything's going up. Prices keep going up. Everything is getting more and more expensive. And if they do have a cyber attack, which they're telling you they're going to, so just remember, that, Maria said it. They're telling you. They look at there. So when they do that, you're going to need to talk with people, and you're going to need to power your devices, and you're going to need to be able to get information. And that's, satellite phone store. That's what we're here for. Sat123.com and satnews123.com is Galileo. That's a company also started by the amazing Tina. And we provide the information to all these great satellite devices. But yeah, I mean, a cyber attack covers all of those. And I didn't mean to go on my little sales pitch there, but it's not really a sales pitch. It's just it's the honest truth. When he says cyber, he's talking about everything. He's talking about your communication. He's talking about your ability to get information, and he's talking about your ability to keep your family warm during
Yep.
the winter because, they want to shut you down. And then they're going to offer you the solution. And that will be some sort of mark of the beast, shop at Walmart system where you can live in your pod and eat bugs and be happy and own nothing kind of thing, speaking of Klaus Schwab. But Yeah, I mean, the writing's on the wall.
Well, I think
Power
it was
outages are coming.
It
Yeah,
was
go ahead.
Sam Altman that was talking about how we would need to eventually get people to have credits to access
Yeah.
AI, the information that AI can give us, and all of these sorts of things. And recently, we were reporting on the early technocracy movement of the 1930s, of which Elon Musk's grandfather was in, and their philosophy and belief system. Now, of course, this dates back much further than 1930, but we could really have a deep look into that because we have a lot of documentation on that movement and their belief systems at that time. And even back then, they were talking about energy credits, credits in order to access energy. So when you're talking about, powering your devices up, practicing that now, I'm doing the same, getting used to using a solar powered bank to charge little devices up, getting into that practice now rather than learning it all after everything's out. I think these things are vital right now.
Well, the problem is, I want to say, well, the problem is, like when the Ukraine war kicked off, we ran out of satellite phones. We couldn't get them, and that was just the Ukraine war.
I remember.
Yeah. And that wasn't cutting off the Strait of Hormuz. That wasn't cutting off power. That wasn't cutting off food. That wasn't cutting off fertilizer. That wasn't starting World War III. That wasn't massive cyber attacks. That wasn't pandemic 2.0, which Fauci and Hotez and Gates are all telling you that's coming. That wasn't any of that. That was just a war in little old Ukraine that my buddies were in 2014, teaching some of those guys how to use switchblade drones. But that was just a little war in comparison. Now you're talking about all of these things all at once. So if you're waiting to get it till when the power's off, it's too late. Like the power's off. If you're even waiting, I mean, now look at prices. Prices are going up. So prices are going up. Your money's going down. They're adverse, but they are related, right? Obviously. So why wait? If you got a couple bucks, you team up with your neighbor, put a list together. The value of the item is going to go exponential when it saves your life. However, just in the next couple months, in the next year, the item itself, the ticket item, I can just tell you, like, we're doing our best to maintain because we have a backstock, we have inventory. But as people buy, as these things go on and they drag on and on and on, everything's getting more expensive from fuel prices to energy prices. And then if something goes dark, man, that's the whole supply line. Imagine if they sunk a ship or, I mean, they're already putting mines out there, but if, it's closed down. But if something happened and there's a war there and that didn't open up for a year, we're not getting anything. So, I mean, I really think the writing's on the wall right now, with what's going on. And the other thing I just wanted to say was, you mentioned, we were talking about Klaus Schwab, and then you mentioned the coin thing. Well, Larry Fink, who took over BlackRock, is up on stage, took over the World Economic Forum for Klaus Schwab, and he's out here talking about how he wants to tokenize the world. Everything has a token: the air, your carbon, your waste, your water. So when you say this has been going on for a long time, they're just handing the baton. It's just one creature after another that they're just passing down the line. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to get those points out. Go ahead.
I can't remember if it was you that I spoke about this with last time, but when you're talking about resources, there was a report that we put out probably 2 years ago because it's just in my nature to see these things far ahead of when they actually happen, called Natural Capital Accounting. And they were talking about all the way back then. So we're talking during the COVID era about how they are going to have an inventory of everything. And this came out around the same time where the information came out that they were putting everything onto a digital ledger, including our homes, including all of our assets, right?
I remember that. Yeah.
Pardon me. And so they were starting to have these discussions around natural capital accounting back then, which is taking stock of every single natural resource, such as the water supply to homes, such as heating, fuel, everything was included in this natural capital accounting digital ledger. And shortly after that, you had the World Economic Forum saying, well, it's like people don't understand climate change, but what they really understand is water and their access to it.
That's right. I remember that. I remember that dude. No, he was a girl.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm kidding. It was
Yes.
a, I think. But yeah, she was like, they'll pay attention. She was the same one that was talking about we failed in vaccinating the world. We failed, talking about how, they didn't hurt enough people. I don't know, you failed. You hurt a lot of people that I know. So, I mean, congratulations.
Yeah.
But yeah, that same psycho was talking about water, and Larry Fink and Bill Gates just did something. I remember seeing it on Twitter recently. They're talking about how they got to control the water supply, and the CEO of Nestle, he said years ago, I remember talking about this years ago, and everyone told me I was crazy. My friends were like, dude, no one would say that. I was like, dude, like I said it. He said, water is not a human right.
Yeah.
What? Like, you're not a right human, bro. Like, there's just like something going on here. These guys are crazy, but
And Nestle
again,
has a track record of that, by the way. It's I forgot what the name in California is, but they drained an entire lake for their own. The government gave them rights to it, and then the people in the area had no water. Like they just do this
again
all the
and
time.
again.
Yeah, again
There are
and again.
documentaries about that. They do it the small town in Maine, and there was another town in West Virginia. They come in, they buy the rights from the town, they pump out the well, they bottle it and leave, and the town's like, we're gonna die.
Yeah.
And that's that. They just don't care. Yeah. So, all of this is as crazy as we think these people are, as nuts as I sound right now, which maybe I do to some people, and that's okay. But the truth is, go and read for yourself because the attack is coming. These things are happening. And I mean, I'll challenge you this. Just go 10 years ago. How much did your tap water cost? And now compare it to now. And how much is it going to cost in 10 years? How much is it going to cost in 5? Because this like expense inflation curve is skyrocketing right now. And the effects are coming, whether it's water, food, power, communication, information, or air. I mean, we didn't even touch on all this craziness of the cloud seeding and the nonsense that they're dumping on people's heads. So, we're under a full barrage all around. But yeah, the best thing you can do is, again, don't be afraid. You got Bibles, get lots of Bibles. I love Bibles. Old Bibles are the best. You can find them still, buy old Bibles, and then read them, and then prepare. Stock up. Don't be afraid. Be not afraid. If you're not, I am with you. I am your God, not me, God. And here we go. Let's do it. But yeah, it's time. It's time.
I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record, Brett, because I have to keep telling people I'm not. Me and our guests are not telling people this to make them afraid. It really is, it's about helping people prepare and be in the right mindset. I know it's night and day between when I was sitting in Western Sydney, where they were telling us that you can't travel if your grocery store is more than 3 miles away from your house, you can't go. You have to order online. Right?
Yeah.
Like I lived through that. I lived through them saying, the health minister at the time said, I don't know what else to do about these people in Western Sydney because it's a high immigrant population, thus people who don't trust the government. I don't know what to do about these people. I may have to send the military to their doors to convince them to get vaccinated. Right. And so I that situation when I was, had just left my corporate job, wasn't really thinking about prepping. Like I knew I needed to, but it wasn't in my immediate thought versus how I approach these things now. And I have way more negative information in my head because I do this day and night than I did
depressing.
then. But yet I feel much less fear now because I've used all this knowledge 100%. To prepare, right? So that's what I'm really hoping to convey here in this today. Communication, obviously, we're talking about the satellite phone store today, and I want to urge people, everyone I know who is serious about preparation is prepared with satellite phones because especially if you're sort of someone that people may depend on, someone that's takes prepping quite seriously, you're going to be someone that people want to be able to contact. And you're going to be someone that wants to be able to contact other important people to communicate during times like this. Or even if you just want encrypted communications, which you're not going to get with a cell phone company, I can assure you. That's the other point here, right? Like you don't have to wait for the cell towers to go down. If you want encrypted communications, which the satellite phone store does offer, then use a satellite phone. Right. And I'm just going to bring up some of these deals right now. You can go to sat123.com/Maria. You can get satellite bundles. with where you're saving. I mean, look at these savings with this particular deal. You're saving over $1,100 with the Iridium Stay Ready 150 bundle. You are talking about a saving of over $1,500. If you want a Starlink Mini on the go, you can get that as well. You can get additional 10% off the essential satellite communication little pack here. So I mean, there are or on the Iridium as well. So the other one, if you get, if you sign up for 12 months or more of service with this particular deal here, you get a Faraday Shield backpack on the satellite phone store, saving over $700. So, I mean, there are a number of different options for people on all different budgets here. I really do want to urge people to take communication seriously. It is so vital, just as is your, making sure you know where to get your food and water from and all of these sorts of things. Communication is going to be really important. The last thing I want is to only be able to hear some EMS service telling me, some nonsense that it just isn't true.
I mean, it's every zombie movie.
Right.
It's like they're like on the top of the building and they're listening to some radio and it's like, shh, we're alive. Come. Shh. And they're like, we should go. No, we're going to die. No, we have to go. We're running out of food. We got to go. And then they go and then they get eaten by zombies. You don't want to be that person relying. No. You just call Maria Z. Be like, hey, what's up, Maria? Hey, what's going on? Yeah, it's all BS? Okay, cool. Thanks. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. You good? Okay, yeah. All right, bye.
Or, hey, there is actually a horde of zombies on the way, by the way.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, here we go. Let's do this. Like, I'm ready to go. But, I mean, I try to make light of it because, it does get super heavy, when you think about what's going on and that that we're under attack, but more important than our kids, right? They're going to school, they're playing in the playground, they're like laughing and dancing. I mean, it's like, it's a sad thing to think that, we're not going to have this. Hopefully we can hold it together as a country. But in the meantime, you need to just prepare yourself and your community because that's just the responsible thing to do. And to something you said earlier, maybe people need to a little bit of rough up. Maybe we need a little bit of sand, between our toes because, we've had it really easy and ordering from Uber Eats and watching Netflix, at the very least, if this makes you drink a little bit more water, do a couple squats, go outside, put your toes in the grass and, get some sunshine, maybe get out the old rusty rifle and fire a few rounds, play with your generator, call your friends in the mountains with your satellite phone. I mean, get involved in life. It's fun. It doesn't all have to be doom and gloom, but it might
and I
be,
think practicing, I think practicing these things ahead of time is so important. Yeah. Like I said, practicing 100%. Your preparation, practicing, I didn't know how to can before. I do now, things like
Send you my address. I want to try
it. These things are super, super important. The old ways that people used to do things are so, so important to be practicing now ahead of time so that, if disaster hits, and I should really say when, you're not panicking, because when you're panicking, you're not thinking clearly. And that's the last thing I want, especially from our viewers who should know, like, the apocalypse is now, kind of with my screamy messaging. But you know what I mean? Like, our viewers should really understand this. I want to mention one other thing because the cyber stuff is important. You have there was the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, so CISA, just warned about Iranian-linked attacks. So they're saying that Iranian-affiliated actors are exploiting programmable logic controllers across US critical infrastructure. They also say that there was medical equipment that was hit by an Iranian-linked attack that wiped data from 200,000 systems. That's just this month. Now, whether you believe that that's Iran or not, or whatever the case may be, these attacks are happening. And this one in particular is the one that I really wanted to show people because it does say that this is specifically relating to US critical infrastructure. And they've added, CISA has added, and I'll just bring this up for everyone. This is as of yesterday, 8 known exploited vulnerabilities to their catalog that they've just added. So, the critical infrastructure stuff is super important, Brett, for people to take seriously. Most people are like, I turn the tap on and water comes out. Or like, why do I need to worry?
Yeah, I try to tell people, and I'm pretty sure you and I talked about it last time I saw you, but you know, those shiny, big, wiry things down near your community that have like the chain link fence around them, they're all big and they have a lot of coils and there's wires coming into them. That's a substation. And that basically takes all the big power and it turns it into the little power and it sends it out to your house. And I don't know, I've never seen a guard there. It's a chain link fence, but it powers the whole neighborhood. You know, the wells, you know, poisoning the wells. There's already fluoride and chlorine and all kinds of nastiness in there. You know, it would take one knucklehead at some treatment facility to do something nefarious, and here we go. You got populations down, you got issues, and now you're suspect. We're vulnerable as a nation. We're vulnerable as a people. We're vulnerable as humans. That's just part of what we are. But we're also wise and we can kind of see ahead. And that's what's happening right now is the smart people are looking in the near future going, all right, I'm not saying I want it to happen. I don't. I love the way life is. I enjoy the peace. Sleeping through the night is amazing. And you know, if you ever had to work fire watch in the military, you never want that. So all these apocalypse junkies, they're nuts. Like I love rest. I love hot showers. I like tap water, but I'm also in the business of paying attention. And if you're paying attention, you can see that we're not totally safe and we're under attack by a lot of people. So act accordingly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Act accordingly, prepare accordingly. Go to
Prepare accordingly.
sat123.com/Maria today. That's sat123.com/Maria so that you get the discounts that are available only to our viewers. You can see, you know, a range of different deals down here. You can do single or multi-line. You can do power backup. You got a EcoFlow Delta Pro small home kit. You're saving over $2,900 on these deals. Take advantage while the stocks are there. Faraday bags. If you have a satellite phone, by the way, and you're not keeping it in a Faraday bag, I want to like grab you by the shoulders and scream, what are you doing? You should have that in a Faraday bag all the time because in the event of an EMP, you don't want that to be going out. Your only means of backup comms to be going out. So please keep your stuff in Faraday bags. Yeah. I also, Brett, have a spare phone along with a bivvy inside a Faraday bag. So that's another backup that I have.
This is a Faraday shirt that we sell there too, by the way. Just in case, this is a Escape Zone Faraday shirt. I always wear it now. I have a couple of them. I wear them when I'm in front of the computer because I have this little EMF blaster thing that I've played with before, and I get zapped sitting in front of the computer. So I like this little sporty thing when I do this stuff. But yeah, it's a real thing. EMF is another thing. Frequencies. You know, we have these cool backpacks here. We're giving some away. You know, it's like there's all kinds of ways to prepare, but you know, start with what you do every day. That's what I just tell people. And you know, start with what you do every day. Write it down. Do you talk to your daughter? Do you talk to your son? Do you call your grandma? Right? What do you do? Do you need to communicate? Of course. Where do you get your information? Do you check Twitter? Do you check the TV? What if that's not available? Maybe you need a satellite. Maybe you need, you know, Galileo to send you some information. What do you do then? You boil your water, your coffee? Yeah, maybe you need a generator. Maybe you need to plug in some power that you can charge without gas and diesel because the strait is still closed and gas is $10 a gallon. I mean, run out the scenario, play whatever you want, but at the end of the day, just proper planning prevents piss poor performance, right? That was what they told us in the military. So that's just what we're going with.
That's great. And actually, one thing, and I know this seems insignificant, but for those who are taking this seriously, I highly recommend looking at some morale boosters as well. So if there is a period where you're stuck without you know, a lot of resources and you have to go to sort of, you know, Luddite living, the coffee. There, you can get freeze-dried coffee, and that is a 100%. Huge morale. I know this sounds very first worldy, but it's not. It's actually, you know, it really is important for your psyche and for energy. Stock up on some freeze-dried coffee. That's something I've done because I don't ever want to be in a situation where I'm like, you know, facing this crisis, albeit as prepared as I am, but I'm wishing that I that I kept some coffee. Like these are very small things that you can do if you take this stuff seriously. I'm just trying to be as informative as I can as usual with the viewers. Also, the other thing, if you are stocked up on comms, do go scroll down the page. Brett was just talking to you about some of the clothing. There's an EMF maternity shield now.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That is so cool. EMF barrier wristbands, antimicrobial silver line pillowcase. Tina takes this stuff really seriously. So if you've got any of these clothes, I have some of them. Super, super good quality, especially these t-shirts are fantastic. The hoodie that Brett was talking to you about is there as well, tactical hoodies. I mean, the EMF blocking beanies as well for kids and adults, blocking boxes, blankets, very, very high quality EMF blankets. You know, so many people sit down with their laptops or their devices in their laps and you have no idea what's going on. You've got one?
I was just going to show you this little guy here. I actually have this in my house. I love this thing because, yeah, when I sit and I like lay down, I'm holding my phone right over my
Yeah.
So I put this little thing down here as like my little, it's like a little blanket. You know, like I was going into the X-ray, right? So it's my little X-ray blanket. You can see it's Faraday on one side, and that's really what it does. I just lay it on my lap, and I do it with my kids. I do it with the laptops there, just to make sure I'm not, you know, doing damage because, you know, you're getting damaged. I remember they told women not to put the phone in your bra because it's going to cause damage. That was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And now what, we just forget about that? That's just like went away. The phones got less powerful. We got safer. That's bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
You know, you need to protect yourself, you know, especially I love the maternity stuff that they're doing. I think it's cool. Kids are everything. So yeah.
Absolutely
but anyway, I wanted to show my little blankie. My little
It's a great
banky.
little blankie. But honestly, Tina, and I know this, and people would know from our previous interviews with Tina Blanco, but she takes this extremely, extremely seriously. Especially when she started looking at EMF protective clothing. You know, all her products are incredibly high quality, everything that the satellite phone store puts out, but this was like her real baby. Like she really wanted to bring out the best EMF clothing, and everything that I've gotten has been fantastic. So even the beanies, like she was telling me people are working with the beanies on and they're reporting that they're getting less headaches. So and they're not very thick at all. So you know, another really great option for everyone. Please go to sat123.com/Maria. Look at all the different ways that you can help you and your loved ones prepare today. At least get that part of your preparation sorted. If you haven't already, or if you've done some, expand on it before it becomes more problematic, before shipping costs are through the roof, before, you know, Amazon's increasing their costs, USPS is putting an 8% surcharge on. I mean, these things are already starting to happen. So do it now while you can, more comfortably than you will be able to later. Brett Miller, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time here today.
Thank you, Maria. It's always a pleasure. Keep up the great work. God bless you and take care.
God
Thanks.
bless. The New World Order has openly declared war on the free people of the world, and now they're telling us to expect catastrophic cyber attacks over the next 2 years. Weather events, no power, grids down, mobile cell services out. Contact your loved ones anywhere, anytime with the satellite phone store. The Bivy is a revolutionary GPS-based device which allows you to send SMS messages via your phone even if you have no mobile or cell service. Galileo will ensure you always stay in contact with Z Media, other trusted information sources, and your loved ones that can update you in real time in the event of an emergency. Don't be caught out and unprepared for the unprecedented times we are living in. Stay 10 steps ahead through secure, encrypted communication. Visit sat123.com/Maria and prepare yourself and your loved ones now.